At exactly 9:18 on a humid Thursday night in Atlanta, a man was kneeling in the grass, counting under his breath, hands locked, pushing down on a stranger's chest like his life depended on it. Because hers did. 28, 29, 30. Come on, stay with me. And then a voice cut through everything sharp loud, the kind that doesn't ask, it commands, "Hey, you hands where I can see them right now." He didn't stop. He couldn't. And within the next 2 minutes, that same man, a trained paramedic, doing everything right, would be handcuffed and pulled away from a dying patient. Yeah, that happened. His name was Darius Coleman, and if you met him on any other day, you'd probably think he was just another calm, steady guy who had his life figured out. The kind of person who doesn't raise his voice, doesn't get rattled easily, the kind of guy people trust without even knowing why. But that kind of calm doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from somewhere painful, somewhere personal. When Darius was 14, he watched his grandmother collapse in their kitchen, just drop right there in front of him. Heart attack. He remembered every second of it. The sound of her hitting the floor, the way his hands shook dialing 911, the way he kept saying, "Please hurry," like saying it enough times might actually make it true. But it didn't. The ambulance took 11 minutes. 11 long minutes where he just stood there useless, watching the woman who raised him fight for her life. She survived barely, but something in him changed that day. He made a promise quiet to himself. Next time I won't just stand there. And he didn't. By 19, he was an EMT. By 22, a licensed paramedic. By his mid-20s, he was already known as one of the best in his unit, the guy who stayed a little longer than he had, to the one who showed up days later just to check on patients, the one who didn't treat it like a job, more like a responsibility he carried everywhere. His partner used to say he had this way about him, like when things got chaotic, he somehow made everything feel quieter, more focused. Like if Darius was there, things might actually turn out okay, you know what I mean? That night, October 9th, had already been long. 12-hour shift, multiple calls, the kind of exhaustion that sits in your bones. But when the dispatch came through, 67-year-old female, unresponsive, not breathing, none of that mattered. It never does in that moment. They were moving in under 30 seconds. By 9:23, they pulled up to a quiet neighborhood, the kind where people sit on their porches at night trying to catch a breeze. And right there in the front yard was Ms. Eleanor Hayes lying on her back, neighbors gathered around in that helpless circle, hands over mouths, not knowing what to do. Darius didn't hesitate. Gloves on before his knees hit the grass, checking airway, checking pulse. Nothing. No breathing, no heartbeat. He started compressions immediately, hard, fast, steady. The way you're trained, the way your body remembers, even when your mind is racing. His partner Jamie was right there setting up the AED, calling out vitals, syncing everything like a machine that had done this 100 times before. They were locked in, fully present even through the exhaustion, because that's what the job demands. And for a few minutes, everything was exactly how it should be. Two professionals doing everything they could to pull someone back from the edge. Then the patrol car pulled up. Officer Brett Harrove stepped out, 10, 11 years on the force, the kind of guy other officers described as assertive, which sounds fine until you realize what that sometimes really means. He walked toward the scene, saw the ambulance lights, saw the paramedics, saw the woman on the ground. And then his focus locked onto Darius. "Hey!" he shouted, voice cutting through the rhythm of compressions. "Stop what you're doing and show me your hands." Darius didn't stop, didn't even look up. "Sir, I'm performing CPR. She's in cardiac arrest." Harrove stepped closer. "I said hands. Now." Jaime stepped in, trying to keep things calm. "Officer, we're on an active medical call. He's a licensed paramedic. We need to continue." But Harrove didn't look at her, didn't acknowledge any of it. His eyes stayed on Darius like none of the context mattered. "You've got 3 seconds before I put you on the ground." And right there, that's the moment everything shifted. Darius looked up just long enough to say, calm but firm, "If I stop, she dies." There was no anger in his voice, no defiance for the sake of it, just fact. Then he added quieter, almost like he was already accepting what might happen next. "Then arrest me. I'm not letting her die." You could feel it even watching it later, that tension, that split second where things could still go either way. But they didn't. Harrove reached down, grabbed Darius by the arm, pulled him up mid-compression. You can hear it in the footage, Darius saying, "Please, please, she will die," over and over, not yelling, not fighting, just desperate in that controlled way someone gets when they know exactly what's at stake. The cuffs went on. metal clicking into place. And just like that, the compressions stopped. 41 seconds. That's how long she went without compressions. Jamie dropped back in hands, shaking but trying to stay focused, trying to pick up where he left off while neighbors started shouting phones out recording everything. "What are you doing?" someone yelled. "He's a paramedic." And Darius, he just stood there, hands cuffed behind his back, watching from a few feet away as the woman he had been trying to save lay there. And for those 41 seconds, there was nothing he could do. Ms. Hayes survived. But survival isn't the whole story, is it? Doctors later said those 41 seconds mattered, that the interruption likely caused lasting damage. She lived, yes, but with cognitive impairment she didn't have before, the kind that changes how you experience the rest of your life. And that's the part people don't always talk about. Survival doesn't mean everything is okay. Darius was taken to the precinct, processed, cited for obstruction. Obstruction for performing CPR. He didn't argue, didn't make a scene. Just sat there quietly because something had already clicked in his mind. This wasn't just about him anymore. The next morning he called a civil rights attorney, Ronald Bates, a guy who had seen this kind of thing before, maybe not exactly like this, but close enough to recognize what it meant. Within days they had everything: body cam footage, ambulance footage, witness statements, medical reports. But the real turning point came when they pulled Harrov's personnel file. 9 complaints in 11 years, 7 involving black men, 4 explicitly mentioning racial bias, all cleared. No discipline, no consequences, just a pattern. Sitting there, ignored. When the footage was released, it spread everywhere. Millions of views, overnight news stations looping it, people arguing, debating, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Medical professionals were especially clear. You don't stop CPR. You don't pause to explain yourself. Every second matters. And the idea that he should have just complied for a moment, that argument didn't hold up under real medical standards. There is no quick pause when someone's heart isn't beating. The department moved fast after that. Faster than usual. Investigation, review, interviews. They confirmed what anyone watching could already see. Harrov interfered with a medical emergency, ignored visible credentials, used force without justification, and made an arrest without probable cause. But there was another detail that stuck with people. Audio from his body cam about 90 seconds before he approached Darius, where he radioed in black male not complying. At that moment, the footage clearly shows Darius kneeling in uniform, performing CPR, ambulance lights flashing behind him. He wasn't not complying. He was saving a life. And yet the first thing mentioned wasn't the emergency. It was his race. Harrov was terminated, 11-year career over. And not long after, the city reached a settlement with Darius, $12 million, the largest of its kind in that city's history. Some people said it was justice, others said it was excessive. Some still argued he should have just stopped for a second, explained himself, avoided the whole situation. But again, you don't stop CPR, not if you know what you're doing, not if you understand what those seconds mean. Darius went back to work, same uniform, same job, same partner, because for him this was never about the money, it was about something deeper. Something that started in a kitchen when he was 14, watching someone he loved fight for her life. He began speaking at conferences, helping reshape how law enforcement and medical responders interact, pushing for training that probably should have existed long before any of this happened. Months later, Ms. Hayes attended a press conference. She walked slowly with a cane she hadn't needed before that night. When she saw Darius, she walked up to him, took his hands, and just said, "You stayed." That was it. No long speech, no dramatic moment, just those 2 words. And somehow they carried everything. So here's the question I keep coming back to me, and I want you to think about it, really think about it. If you were in his position, hands on a dying patient, someone in authority telling you to stop, knowing exactly what would happen if you did, would you have kept going, or would you have stepped back, played it safe, trusted the system to sort it out later? Because that moment right there, it's easy to judge from the outside. But it's different when you're the one standing in it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think, not just about what happened, but about what it says. About authority, about bias, about how quickly things can go wrong even when you're doing everything right. And if you've ever seen something like this, experienced something like this, share that too. Because stories like this don't just belong to one person. They belong to everyone who's ever been underestimated, questioned, or put in a position where doing the right thing came with a cost.